Don't open it yet." Her voice was weak, barely holding on. Jacob Hale frowned as the woman pressed the folded letter into his hand. Her fingers trembled, cold, fragile, fading. Only when, "I'm gone," she whispered. Jacob didn't understand. "Ma'am, you need water." "You're not." "Promise me." Her eyes locked onto his. Not fear, not pain, but urgency. Jacob hesitated, then nodded. "I promise." The woman let out a slow breath, like she had been waiting for that. Then her hand slipped from his. And just like that, she was gone. Silence filled the small cabin. The little girl beside her mother didn't cry at first. She just stared, as if her mind refused to believe what her eyes were seeing. "Mom," she whispered. No response. Jacob's grip tightened around the letter. He had seen death before. But this was different because of that letter, because of that promise. The girl slowly turned toward him, her small voice breaking. "What did she give you?" Jacob looked down at the folded paper. It suddenly felt heavy, too heavy. "I don't know," he admitted. The girl stepped closer, her tiny hands clutching his coat. "She told me," her voice shook, "that someone would come and help us." Jacob felt that familiar weight settle in his chest, a responsibility he never asked for. Outside, the wind howled softly. Inside, everything had changed. He looked at the letter again. He had promised not to open it, but something inside him whispered. This wasn't just a letter. This was a truth waiting to break everything. The girl looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. "Are we going to be okay?" Jacob didn't answer, because for the first time in a long time, he wasn't sure, and the letter in his hand was about to tell him why. Fire. The cabin felt colder, even with the fire still burning. Jacob stood there, the letter still in his hand, staring at it like it might speak on its own. Behind him, the little girl finally broke. "Mom, wake up," she cried, shaking her mother's shoulder gently. "Please. You said we were going to be okay." Her voice cracked. No response. Jacob closed his eyes for a second. He had seen this before, too many times, but it never got easier. He stepped forward slowly, kneeling beside them. His voice was low, careful. "Hey, what's your name?" The girl didn't answer. She just kept shaking her mother. Jacob swallowed hard. "Hey, look at me." Slowly she did. "Lily," she whispered. Jacob nodded. "Lily, I need you to listen to me." Her eyes filled with tears. "She's not waking up." Jacob hesitated. There were no soft words for this. "She won't," he said gently. The moment the words left his mouth, Lily froze. Then she shook her head again and again. "No, no," she promised. Jacob felt something twist deep inside him. Promises. He glanced down at the letter in his hand. Another promise. "Come here," he said quietly. Lily didn't move at first. Then, slowly she stepped into him. Jacob wrapped an arm around her, holding her as her small body shook with silent sobs. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Only the fire crackled. Only the wind whispered outside. Then Lily pulled back slightly, wiping her tears. "She told me about you," she said suddenly. Jacob frowned. "About me?" Lily nodded. She said, "If anything happens, find the man with the broken star." Jacob's breath caught. The broken star. His hand instinctively moved to his chest, where an old, cracked sheriff's badge rested under his coat. He hadn't worn it in years. "How does she know that?" he asked quietly. Lily reached toward the letter. She said, "You'll understand when you read it." Jacob stared at the folded paper again. Now it felt even heavier, like it wasn't just a letter anymore. It was a past he had buried, a past that had just found him again. Lily looked up at him, her voice small but certain. "You promised you wouldn't open it yet." Jacob nodded slowly. "I know." Outside, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the land. Inside, Jacob made a decision. He carefully folded the letter again and placed it inside his coat. Not yet, but soon, because whatever was written inside was already changing everything. Fire. Night fell quickly. The fire burned low, casting soft shadows across the cabin. Lily had finally fallen asleep, curled beside the wall, her small hand still clutching Jacob's coat, as if letting go meant losing everything. Jacob sat alone. The letter rested in his hands. He stared at it for a long time. He had made a promise, but something inside him kept whispering, "This isn't just about you anymore." His jaw tightened. Slowly, carefully, he unfolded the letter. The paper trembled slightly in his grip. The handwriting was weak, uneven, but clear enough. "Jacob, if you are reading this, then I didn't make it. I'm sorry." Jacob's breath slowed. She knew his name. "You don't remember me, but I remember you. 10 years ago, you saved a woman in Red Creek. You gave her a chance to live." Jacob's eyes narrowed. Red Creek. A memory flickered. Fire. Chaos. A scared young woman running. He had helped her escape. And then he left. He never looked back. His grip tightened on the paper. That woman was me. Jacob froze. And this child, Lily, his heart started pounding. "She is yours." Silence. The fire cracked softly. But Jacob didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't think. "No," he whispered under his breath. It didn't make sense. It couldn't. He looked toward Lily, sleeping, peaceful, unaware, then back to the letter. "I never told you, because I knew the life you lived. Danger follows men like you. But now she has no one else." Jacob felt the weight of every word pressing down on him. "Please, don't let her grow up alone. She deserves more than the life I could give her." His hands slowly lowered. The letter slipped slightly, but he caught it. His eyes moved back to Lily, his daughter. The word echoed in his mind. Daughter, for the first time in years. Jacob Hale didn't feel like a drifter. He felt something else, something heavier, something permanent. Lily stirred slightly in her sleep. "Don't leave me," she whispered. Jacob stood up slowly and walked toward her. He knelt beside her, placing his hand gently over hers. "I won't," he said quietly. And this time, it wasn't just a promise. It was a decision. Fire. Morning came, but peace didn't. Jacob hadn't slept. The letter's words still echoed in his mind. "She is yours." He looked at Lily, still asleep near the fire. His daughter. The word felt strange, but right. Then, hoofbeats. Distant, but coming fast. Jacob's head snapped up. Trouble. He moved the window, eyes narrowing. 3 riders, armed, riding straight toward the cabin. His jaw tightened instantly. This wasn't. They knew. Behind him, Lily stirred. "Jacob?" His voice softened for a second. "Stay inside. Don't come near the door." She nodded, still half asleep, unaware of the danger rushing toward them. Jacob grabbed his rifle, stepped outside. The cold air hit hard, but not as hard as the look on the riders' faces. They weren't lost. They weren't friendly. They were here for something. The leader smirked as he stopped his horse. "Well, looks like we found the place." Jacob didn't respond. Didn't need to. "What do you want?" he asked coldly. The man leaned slightly forward. "A woman passed through here. Didn't make it far, I hear." Jacob's grip tightened on the rifle. "And," he said, the man's smile faded. "She had something that doesn't belong to her." A pause. Then, "A child." Silence dropped heavy between them. Jacob's eyes darkened. "She's not yours to take," he said firmly. The other riders shifted, hands near their weapons. The leader chuckled. "You don't understand, cowboy. That girl is worth a lot of money. Jacob stepped forward. Snow crunched under his boots. I understand enough. The air turned sharp. Dangerous. The man's voice dropped. Last chance. Hand her over and we walk away. Behind that door, Lily sat alone, trusting him, waiting. Jacob lifted his rifle slightly. You're not taking her, he said. No hesitation. No doubt. The leader sighed, almost disappointed. Then you're a dead man. The wind picked up. Tension snapped. And in that moment, everyone reached for their guns. Fire. The first shot shattered the silence. Jacob moved before the echo faded. Bang! One rider jerked back, nearly falling from his horse. The others scattered, pulling their guns, firing wildly. Bullets tore through the cabin wall. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. Inside, Lily screamed. Jacob! His heart slammed. But he didn't turn. He couldn't. Not now. Jacob dropped low behind a wooden post, reloading fast, his arms steady despite the chaos. Snow kicked up around him as bullets struck the ground. 3 men, faster than him, but not smarter. He waited just a second, then stepped out. Bang! Another rider went down. The third one ducked, circling wide, try to get behind the cabin. Jacob saw it. No, you don't, he muttered. He moved quickly along the side, boots crunching in the snow, breath sharp in the cold air. The man rounded the corner. Too late. Jacob fired. The rider collapsed into snow. Silence. Heavy. Sudden. Only the wind remained. Jacob stood still for a moment, chest rising and falling, rifle still raised. Then a slow clap. Behind him. He froze. One more. The leader, he had dismounted, moved quietly, waited. Impressive, the man said, stepping out from behind the trees, gun aimed straight at Jacob. Didn't think you had that in you. Jacob didn't turn fully, didn't lower his weapon. Walk away, he said coldly. The man laughed softly, not without the girl. Inside the cabin, Lily's small voice trembled. Jacob? The sound hit harder than any bullet. The leader smirked. Hear that? She's scared. You really think you can protect her forever? Jacob's grip tightened. I don't have to forever, he said. Just today? The man's eyes hardened. Then today you die. He pulled the trigger. Click. Empty. For a split second, confusion crossed his face. That was all Jacob needed. Bang. The shot rang out. The man staggered back, then dropped into the snow. Still, gone. Silence returned. Real silence this time. Jacob lowered his rifle slowly. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from what he almost lost. He turned and rushed inside. Lily ran straight into him, wrapping her arms tightly around him. I was scared, she cried. Jacob knelt, holding her close. I know, he said softly, but I'm here. He pulled back, looking at her, really looking, not as a stranger, not as a responsibility, but as his daughter. And in that moment, Jacob understood something clearly. He didn't just save her life today. He chose it. Fire. The snow had stopped falling. For the first time in days, the sky was clear. Jacob stood outside the cabin. The cold air quiet now, untouched. The bodies were gone, buried far from the house. No tracks remained. No one else would come. It was over. Behind him, the door creaked open. Lily stepped out slowly, holding his old coat around her small shoulders. She looked different now, still fragile, but not alone. Are they coming back? She asked softly. Jacob turned to her. No, he said. They won't. She studied his face, searching for doubt. There was none. After a moment, she nodded and stepped closer, slipping her hand into his. Jacob looked down at her small fingers wrapped around his. Something inside him settled. Not fear, not uncertainty. Something stronger. Belonging. Where will we go now? Lily asked. Jacob glanced at the horizon. The long stretch of land, the empty trails, the life he had always known. Alone, free, gone. Then he looked back at her, at his daughter. We don't run anymore, he said quietly. We build something. Lily tilted her head. Like what? Jacob knelt in front of her, his voice softer than it had ever been. A home. The word lingered between them. New, powerful. Lily's eyes filled slightly. With you? Jacob nodded. With me? She smiled, small but real, and then she hugged him again, tighter this time. Jacob closed his eyes, holding her close. For years, he had lived like a man with nothing to lose. But now, he had everything. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Jacob walked back into the cabin. He reached into his coat and pulled out the letter one last time. He read the final line again. Take care of her, the way you once took care of me. Jacob folded it carefully, then placed it near the fire. The flames caught slowly, then consumed it, not as an ending, but as a release, because the promise written on that paper was no longer just words. Jacob stepped outside again. Lily ran toward him, laughing softly in the fading light, and as he watched her, Jacob Hale, the man who once walked alone, finally understood what it meant to stay. Red Heart,